Welcome back, guys. Today I'm going to show you how to do throttle body coolant bypass, or just basically how to delete it as easy as possible on a dpfi Honda Civic. So that's your 2-injector, the old school like 88 Civics. They only had 2 injectors. If you have that one, you know what I'm talking about. And I'll show you a few other things, how to get a little bit of extra power out of it too. The reason I'm making this video is because I always like to make a video that I haven't been able to find, and I could not find a video on this anywhere. And so unfortunately I had to use my brain and I had to think for a second. But normally on your typical Civic, it's actually easier to do this delete, but I'm going to show you right now why on the dpfi it's actually a little bit trickier. And I'll show you what I'm talking about right now. So check this out. So right here we got my 88 Civic, the same one that we turboed on the last video. If you didn't see that, go check it out. Had to turbo your Civic in 5 minutes. But anyways, right now I was just doing an oil change, and I had an oil leak. The oil pan was a little bit loose, so I just tightened that up. And so before we go over the dpfi coolant bypass, I want to show you 2 things you can do to gain yourself a little bit of power. 3 things, and then the coolant bypass will actually be the 4th thing, and this will really wake these little motors up. Actually, I'm going to show you 5 things to do to this car to wake them up, and it will really make a huge difference. They're not going to be fast. You're not going to be, you know, smoking Lambos or anything like that, but this car barely goes 70 bone stock, you know what I mean? And with all these little mods, you'll be able to do well over 100. So I'm going to show you right now. The first thing you're going to want to do is delete the factory cat. That factory cat is extremely restrictive. You want to get that off there, put yourself a decent set of headers, all right? The rest of the exhaust is not that important, but I do have a 3-inch exhaust the rest of the way back, but that doesn't make much of a difference because these little motors, they don't flow that much. But that stock, the stock headers, the stock cat is super restrictive, okay? The second thing you're going to want to do is pop this cover off right here. And you're going to see when you open this up, there's going to be a little flap right here. And you see I already removed it, but it's going to go from here to there to there. It's just a little flap, and it stops the airflow. You'll want to take that out. That's actually going to be a real big improvement right there too. The other thing that I don't know that it makes a ton of difference, but I actually haven't had time to test it, but if you think about it, the more air you can get into your engine and out of your engine, the more power you'll make. So there's a little bit of the screen right here on this cover. I took this out and I cut all that screen off, and I grinded it real smooth, and I made sure none of that metal was going to fall back into the motor, and I bolted that back on. You might be like, why don't you just take that off? Well, I'm pretty sure that this thing puts pressure on the little rubber O-ring below it to help seal this. So you don't want to just delete this. You want to cut that screen out and then put this piece back on, okay? The other thing you're going to want to do, besides that coolant bypass, is you're going to want to crank your timing up. This is at your own risk. Do it at your own risk. The other ones are a pretty safe move, but this one can be somewhat risky. Personally, I don't think you shouldn't damage your motor at all. I've never had a problem with it, but it is a risky move, especially if you're running 87 octane or, you know, anything like that. Is you're going to want to take your distributor, and you're going to want to clock it all the way that way. So this thing, if you take all 3 of the bolts loose right here, you see there's another bolt down there. Take all 3 of these bolts loose, and you'll see that that thing has a little bit of slack to turn left and right, okay? You're going to want to turn it all the way left. So make the bolt go all the way to this side and have the gap on the back side. Max it all the way out. That's going to give you the most timing. It's going to make your engine run most efficient and give you the most power that you can get out of it. The 5th thing and final thing is on how to do the coolant bypass, okay? So I looked in here, and there's a few hoses, but from what I could see, the main hose that feeds it is this one right here. It's coming off your coolant pipe in the back. It comes over here and feeds into the manifold right here, right? So, and I'm pretty sure it goes back into the engine in the intake manifold. So there'd be no way to really Like on the most Civics, you just loop the hose from the engine back to the engine. That way it never feeds the throttle, it never feeds your throttle body or the idle air control valve with coolant anymore. But on this motor, you don't have that option. I could be wrong, but I looked everywhere and I'm pretty sure that the coolant goes back into the engine through the intake manifold around the gasket. So there's no way to plug that. But what I did is I took this little clamp right here off and I pulled this hose down, right? Okay. And I guess I'll just show you. Let me see. And what I did is that it's going to be tough to see, but you see that bolt right there? That's actually an Allen head bolt. And what I did, let me see if I can pull that out. One second. Get you set up right here and pull that bolt out real quick. Alright, so check it out. Come right here. Pull this bolt out so I can show you guys. All right, you see that? See, it's just an Allen head bolt, okay? I want to say it's like a 5mm or a 6mm. And what I did, the whole point of this is because since you can't really loop the hose, you could plug it off, but those little rubber caps, they normally end up cracking after like a year, and then you get a coolant leak, be stuck on the side of the road. That's the last thing I want. So what I did is I took this little dude right here, right? The hose kind of feels a little weak now. Anyways, I stuck it. You stick it inside this pipe like that. Okay, you see that? Then you're gonna take your hose and you're gonna slip it over that thing with that bolt in there now. What that's gonna do is that's gonna stop all the coolant from flowing. There still might be some coolant in there, but it's not gonna flow through there, and it's not gonna cause the throttle body to heat up and rob you of power once you get the engine warmed up. So that's your best bet. Stick that bolt in there. And you want to put your clamp back on there. It's hard to do that with one hand, but this little clamp right here, put it back on, and then that's it. So with those few things, that should probably, you know, I can't really say how much horsepower you're gonna get, but honestly, when I just did the cat alone, but my cat was plugged up, but I guarantee you, almost all these cars' cats are plugged up at this time. They're 30 years old, 40 years old. They're all plugged up. Just delete that thing. You can put another cat if you want to pass emissions and whatnot, if you live in an area that, oh man, that you need to do that. But I don't have to do that where I live, so I just deleted it. That's your best bet. Exhaust wise, that one single mod right there is going to get you the most power. The next mod is going to be taking out that little triangle flap right here. Take out that triangle flap. That's going to be your next mod that's going to get you the most power. This one's also a simple one to do. I don't know how much power that one's going to get you actually, because I haven't test drove it, but I assume there is going to be some percentage of a difference with that. It's probably not going to be much. This is probably going to be your least one to do. If you don't want to do that, you're really not losing out on much. But definitely do the exhaust, take out that flap, and delete the coolant flow. Stop the coolant flow to your throttle body by putting a Allen head bolt in this hose right here. The other one, it's a really good one, but again, it's a little bit risky, but really not. I just have to say that to cover my butt. But you're going to want to turn up your timing, clock that to the left, like I said. You'll have a little ripper, okay? So appreciate you guys. If this helped you out, drop us a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next one.